Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're looking at another sort of face-off, and today we're going to be looking at the Pertwee era. And my question was, what do you think is the best, or your personal favorite, season of the Pertwee era? So looking at all 5 seasons of the Pertwee era, which one you either think is the best or your personal favorite, because those aren't necessarily the same thing, so you could choose either way. And I figured going into this, Season 7 or Season 10 would take the top. I figured Season 9 or Season 11 would be at the bottom. And Season 8 would probably be right in the middle, in 3rd place. And that's actually how it played out. It was just, I wasn't sure between 7 and 10, which one would be first, which one would be second. And then between 9 and 11, which one would be 4th and which one would be 5th. So, Season 7 won with 42%, and then with more of a commanding lead than I thought. I thought it would actually be closer between 7 and 10, but Season 7 had 42%, still not over a 50% majority, mind you. Season 2 was in 2nd place with 30%, so we're talking about a 12-point difference. I expected them to be closer than that, because I didn't know which way the vote was going to go between those two. Because I flip back and forth between those two. Sometimes 10 is my favorite Pertwee season. Sometimes 7 is my favorite Pertwee season. My list is very fluid. So Season 7 with 42%, Season 10 with 30%, and then another huge drop to 3rd place with Season 8 getting 14%. And I figured 8 would be in 3rd place. Such a very massive drop, though. Another 16 points down to 14%. And then Season 9 taking 4th place with 8%, and Season 11 taking last with 6%. So 9 beating out 11, 8%, 6%. I wasn't sure how that would go, because Season 9 seems to start out strong, and then for a lot of people ends on a bit of a whimper. But with, Day of the Daleks being strong, Curse of Peladon seeming to be a mixed bag in the fandom. Some people like it, some people don't. Sea Devils usually having a strong reputation, and then the Mutants and Time Monster having very poor reputations, although I personally find them very underrated. I enjoy both stories. Pertwee era is really good. Whereas Season 11 doesn't have a lot of duds. Time Warrior is phenomenal. Invasion of the Dinosaurs is phenomenal. Sans a few special effects is still phenomenal. Death to the Daleks I know doesn't have the best reputation, but I love it. Monsters of Peladon is good, even if it is a bit of a long retread. It's still good. And then Planet of Spiders is good but underwhelming. I felt like the 3rd Doctor deserved better, but it's still good. Let's see what you guys had to say about it. I mean, if I was going to say the way I would rank them is really hard right now. I'm not even sure. Again, it's really hard because I can't decide what I like better between 9 and 11 either. I can't decide what I like better between 8 and 9 even. It's really hard. I'll have to do another definitive Pertwee ranking at some point. That's going to be difficult now that I've seen all of his era. Epic Videos from the Deep, I like that screen name, says, Season 9 is severely underrated. Every story is either a classic or great, even Time Monster and the Mutants. It is also my 2nd favorite season from Classic Who. I love that. I love to see a different opinion like this and see someone else that Season 9 is their Pertwee season. That's great. It's neat to see things like that. I'm curious what your favorite season is from Doctor Who. If Season 9 is your 2nd favorite, if you're watching the video, I'd like you to comment down below and tell me what your favorite season from Classic Who is. I'm curious. Ned D says, I love Season 7 because it was really the only time Doctor Who was targeted toward adult audiences. There's something about that gritty industrial atmosphere, especially in Ambassadors and Inferno, that just does it for me. That's a really good point on both stories. Phil Owens says, love them all, but Season 10 just edges it for me. The 3 Doctors is pure joy. Carnival of Monsters is pure fun. We have the 12-part epic of Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks, and capped off with the bittersweet The Green Death. Wonderful stuff. Honorable mention goes to Season 7. Bananas are good. Says, like I said before, I'm torn between 7 and 10. My problem as well. I also have that problem. But if I had to choose, I would go with 7. Totally fresh new vibe from the 60s seasons with more of a grown-up approach. 2 stories in this season I rate 9 out of 10. So yeah, gotta be 7. Which 2 stories do you rate 9 out of 10? I'm curious. Jake E says, it's a bit of a tough one, mainly because I prefer Joe over Liz at least a bit, but Season 7 is likely my favorite. It's just too much of a banger after banger not to be. It was the beginning of possibly the best era of Doctor Who. I can't believe how much they nailed it. It has such a cool feel to that season. Really real and gritty. I do agree with some other commenter that says season 9 is underrated. It is severely underrated, but then it's sandwiched between season 8 and 10. How could it not be? That's a really good point, Jake. I've yet to see season 11, but the other 4 Pertwee seasons are all perfection in my opinion. Season 11 is great because most people I know think of Sarah with Tom Baker. You know, she's kind of the definitive Tom Baker companion, I think, for a lot of people. But Sarah is actually really good with 3 as well. And matter of fact, some of the best stories where Sarah, just the way her character is written, is with 3. She is written so well in like The Time Warrior and The Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and I absolutely adore her in Monster of Peladon. She's one of the best parts of that story. Her and 3 actually get on really well, as we also see in The 5 Doctors. Thomas says, I really like season 10. The only one I'm not a big fan of is Green Death, but it's still a fan favorite. Bobby Fratrell says, I used to think 7, but following the 60th anniversary rewatch, I think it's 10. 7 is brilliant, though. It's really hard to pick between them. Problem being, it's good to see Problem stop by. I always enjoy chatting with Problem. Problem being says, really, really tough. It was between his first and second season, but I love me some Joe Grant and Roger Delgado, so I opted for season 8. And I said, it's hard for me to choose between 7 and 10. He goes, yeah, 10 as well. The trouble with Pertwee's era is that the seasons are very evenly split with amazing stories and not very good stories. But yeah, 10 has some perfectly goodies in that one. Henry Andrews says, that's a tough one because 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 all have episodes I like. I don't think I could pick a favorite Pertwee season. And that's fair. It's arguably the best era in all of Doctor Who. And in the individual Doctor eras, it's arguably the best one. You can make a strong argument for that. Paul Bailey says, it's a tie between season 7 and 10, as they are both my favorite Pertwee seasons. But I gotta go with 10 because of the 3 Doctors in Carnival of Monsters and Green Death. Even though I do love Spearhead from Space and Inferno, but it's gotta be season 10. Stephen Crane, who is one of my top tier patrons, says, I picked season 10 because my favorite Pertwee stories, which is the Space War Planet of the Daleks, is in it. Joshua says, it's a hard question to answer. I like all of Pertwee, really, but if I had to choose, it would probably be season 9. Nice to see season 9 getting some more love here. Sudoku24 says, 7 is the best, but 10 is my favorite. And I like that distinction. He also understands that there is a difference between the one you think is the objective best and the one you think is your personal favorite. I actually like that distinction, and he makes a good point. Dom Moore, Dom! I always love when Dom stops by. Says, so I will have to give my Doctor Who fan card back. He goes, so will I have to give my Doctor Who fan card back if I admit that season 7 is the only one I really consistently like out of this run? And I wrote in 10th Doctor voice, what? And I was like, I asked him why he felt that way, and he says, I'm not a big fan of the military setting, just don't enjoy the atmosphere or dynamics of that personally. I find Pertwee's Doctor a bit overly authoritative, which meshes with the military setting and just compounds my dislike for that sort of thing. I know it's entertainment and I can enjoy a unit elsewhere. I think it's because it's so much of the overall theme here. Ironic, I know that I enjoy season 7 the best, but the tone of that season works for me and justifies the setting really well. These feel like Earth-based stories where unit would have to be involved, and the change in the way the show is treating its narrative is novel. Whereas after this, it feels very superficial and kind of twee to me, and the Master becomes a little much as well. It's all good fun, but it's not fun I can't get in seasons I prefer, like the 80s with Davison. Interesting, someone preferring Davison seasons over Pertwee season. That's an interesting take. There are stories I enjoy throughout, though, and I don't like this era. The problem is I can't really say I love the seasons that leave unit behind, mostly because I just find the stories very average in those final 2 runs. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And then he adds later, never been the biggest Tennant guy, but that 60th trailer got me excited to see him. Donna and even Donna's mom and Wilf. I really hope Wilf gets some nice scenes. I do too. I love me some Bernard Cribbins. And it's wild to think we live in a world where a character as silly and obscure as Beep the Meat was shown on screen to an audience of people totally unfamiliar with Doctor Who beyond the basics. I am curious to see what the 60th has in store for us. I'm hoping for good things. Colin Coney says, Pertwee doesn't have a perfect season. 7 has the Ambassadors of Death. 8 has Axons, my least favorite of all of Pertwee's era. 9 has Time Monster, 10 has Planet of the Daleks, and 11 has Spiders. He makes a good point. I personally prefer 7 and 9, with 8 and 10 also being good. And then Happy Man 050 says 7, then 8, then 9 and 10 equal, and 11 last. So it's interesting all the different takes and how people would order these seasons. That's what I should have done, a video where everybody ranked them from worst to best. That's a fun one down in the comments. Rank the Pertwee era from worst to best. We might have to do a face-off reaction to this reaction about that. So if you're watching, rank how you would rank the Pertwee seasons from worst to best. That'll be a fun reaction video to this reaction video of the comments. So season 7 taking the win with 42%, season 10 with 30%, season 8 with 14%, season 9 with 8%, and season 11 showing up a little bit with 6%. So comment down below, and if you didn't get a chance to vote in this one, comment down below on it. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. That helps me out, and I certainly appreciate it. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers in 2023, and we are well on our way to that. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. My entry-level tier is only $2 a month. $2 a month. And that does get your name down in the description of every video, thanking you for the support. And it certainly helps me out, and I appreciate it. It helps me keep the bills paid. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. And a link to my P.O. box is down there as well. And I also want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Dr. Finn Perkins, Stephen Crane, and Colin Coney. I do appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. And most importantly, thank you for watching.